Welcome my dear students. Today in this video we will discuss about the completeness property of the set of all real numbers. So as I have already told you, we can define the set of all real numbers as a complete ordered field, meaning the set of all real numbers has three distinctive properties. The first one is set of all real numbers is a field, and the second one is the set of all real numbers is ordered, and the last one is the set of all real numbers is complete. So why do you want to define a completeness property on the set of all real numbers? So the motivation comes from the fact that if you take the subset, the set of all rational numbers of the set of all real numbers, you can trivially observe the following facts. The first one is the set of all rational numbers under usual addition and usual multiplication is again a field. The second one is, since the set of all real numbers is ordered, meaning every two elements can be compared, every proper subset of set of all real numbers should be ordered, meaning every two elements in every proper subset of real numbers can be compared. Since rational numbers is a proper subset of R, we can safely assume that rational numbers is also ordered. So, real numbers is a field as well as ordered. Rational numbers also satisfy the same property. But you can certainly understand that the two sets are completely different in every possible sense. So there should exist some property which should distinguish the set of all real numbers from the set of all rational numbers. That property is called the completeness property. So what is a completeness property? If you represent the set of all real numbers on a straight line, you can safely assume that you can completely fill the straight line with the set of all real numbers. In other sense, if you take any two real numbers, you can completely fill the between space about two real numbers with only real numbers without any gaps. But in the case of rational numbers, it is not at all possible to do such a thing. Or, if you take any two rational numbers, you cannot represent the line segment, every point in the line segment in between the two rational numbers with only rational numbers, which is not at all possible. One simple logical reason is, we have already proved that the set of all rational numbers is countable. But every line segment contains uncountably many points. So you cannot fill the line segment between any two rational numbers with only rational numbers. So the next thing is, this is a problem. This is actually a characteristics we should separate set of all rational numbers from the set of all real numbers. This property otherwise termed as completeness. In other words, if Q is the set of all rational numbers, and we have already proved that Q2 is not a rational number, but if you take a neighborhood of Q2, you can find rational numbers which are arbitrarily close to root 2. But root 2 is not rational. So in other sense, there are real numbers which are arbitrarily close to root 2, or there are rationals which are arbitrarily close to root 2, but root 2 is not a rational number. So you can say that root 2 does not, rational numbers does not complete itself. So that's the basic idea behind completeness. But other than this idea, we have to establish theoretical foundations for the completeness of real numbers. So the property which separates set of all rational numbers from the set of all real numbers is completeness. So for that, we define some classes of sets: bounded and unbounded sets. So a set S, which is non-empty subset of R, is said to be bounded above if there exists a number u such that S less than or equal to u for every S element of S. Each number u is called upper bound of the set S. So a non-empty set S is said to be bounded above if you can find a real number u such that every element of the set S is less than or equal to u. So if you can find a number u associated with a set such that every element of the set is less than or equal to that number, then the set is called bounded above and the number u is called an upper bound of the set. From the definition itself, we can trivially assume that there are infinitely many upper bounds for every bounded set. So if u is an upper bound, then every real number which is greater than u should also be an upper bound. Consider v, which is a number which is greater than u. So u should be less than or equal to v. Since u is an upper bound, S should be less than or equal to u. Since u should be less than or equal to v, we can safely say that S should be less than or equal to v. So every real number which is greater than an upper bound is again an upper bound. Similarly, we can define the notion of a bounded below set. The set S is said to be bounded below if there exists a real number w such that w less than or equal to S for every S element of S. Or in other words, if you can find a real number w such that the real number is less than every element of the set, then we can say that w is called a lower bound and the set is called a bounded below set. So from the above argument, you can trivially assume that every number which is less than a lower bound is again a lower bound. So there are infinitely many lower bounds for a bounded below set. If you combine these two, we can define the bounded set. So a set is bounded if it is both bounded above as well as bounded below. That is, there should exist two real numbers u and w such that w less than or equal to S less than or equal to u for every S element of S. So a bounded set has both supremum upper bound as well as lower bound. supremum and infimum are two concepts which relates to the upper and lower bound of the set. So you can trivially assume that a set has an upper bound means it has infinitely many upper bounds by taking the every number which is greater than the upper bound. So it is interesting to find the least among the set of all upper bounds. That notion is called supremum. In the case of lower bounds, every number which is less than the lower bound is again a lower bound. You can easily find all possible lower bounds by taking the numbers which is less than a lower bound. So the interesting problem should be finding the greatest among the set of all lower bounds, which is what we call an infimum. Before moving on to that, let's prove a simple argument which says that if a set has an upper bound, then it has infinitely many upper bounds, which we have already proved. By taking numbers which is greater than the upper bound, we can safely assume that there are infinitely many upper bounds for any given set. Now we move on to the notion of supremum and infimum. Consider S be a non-empty set. Assume that S is bounded above. Then a real number U is said to be a supremum or called least upper bound if U is an upper bound and if V is any other upper bound, then U should be less than or equal to V. Or by the name itself, if you take the set of all upper bounds of a bounded above set, if it is possible that it has a least element, then that least element is called a supremum of a set, or least among the set of all upper bounds of a set is called supremum of a set. So an element should be a supremum. First of all, it should be an upper bound. Second, if we take any other upper bound of the set, the supremum should be a number which is less than all the upper bounds. So a number U is said to be a supremum. First of all, it should be an upper bound. Second, for any other upper bound, U should be the least. So the least among the set of all upper bounds is called supremum. If we take an example as open interval 0, 1. So every element in open interval 0, 1 is less than 1. And you can safely assume that 1 is an upper bound. So if any number which is less than 1 cannot be an upper bound, because any number which is less than 1 is an element of the set. So 1 should be the least among the set of all upper bounds. So 1 should be the supremum. Similarly, we can define an infimum or a greatest lower bound. If S is a bounded below set, a number W is said to be an infimum. First of all, it should be a lower bound. Second, it should be the greatest among the set of all lower bounds. In other words, if T is any lower bound, then T should be less than or equal to W. Or in other words, the greatest among the collection of all lower bounds is called an infimum. In the case of open interval 0, 1, 0 is a lower bound and every number which is less than 0 is again a lower bound and no number which is greater than 0 is a lower bound. So 0 should be the greatest among the set of all lower bounds, or 0 should be the infimum. From these definitions, you can safely prove one more fact, which is the supremum of a set, if it exists, should be unique, or there can be only one supremum of a given set S of R. So how can you understand this? We have already proved that upper bound of a set is not unique in the sense that if you given with a bounded above set, you can always find an upper bound, and every number which is greater than the upper bound is again an upper bound. So it should not be unique. But in the case of supremum or the least sum and the square of all upper bound, it should be unique, meaning there is exactly one supremum for a given set. And similarly, in the case of lower bounds, the lower bounds need not be unique. You can find infinitely many lower bounds. But in the case of infimum or the greatest lower bound, it should be unique. So how can we prove this? Consider u and v as two supremums. In case 1, you assume that u is a supremum and v is an upper bound. Since u is a supremum and v is an upper bound, u should be less than or equal to v by the definition of supremum. Take this as equation number 1. In case 2, take v as the supremum and u as the upper bound. Since v is a supremum, we get the reverse inequality, that is v less than or equal to u. Combining these two, we get u equal to v. So, we have taken two different supremums and proved that both of them are same. So, if you take more than 2, you will eventually getting all becomes same. So, what we understood from the fact is that you can take lot of supremums, but eventually they all are same. In other sense, supremum should be unique. It should not be more than 1. I hope you understood. Thank you.